Welcome to TGS, Transform, Grow, Succeed. This podcast is about your work as a caring professional and the ideas that we can share to elevate and expand what we do to ensure that those that we serve get the very best of what we have to offer. My name is Dr. Tim Gravoy, Executive Director of TGS Educational Consulting. I'm really excited to introduce Rachel Frevert, to the Director, Founder, and Lead Teacher of Integrative Learning Academy, a private Christian micro school that is located in Peoria, Arizona, to the show today. And Rachel, I invited you on the show because number one, you're an outstanding educator. We've gotten a chance to know that through all of the things that we worked through just last semester, getting ready for summer. And you definitely get how children learn and grow. And number two, you've created a really fascinating model for young people, especially in how to help neurotypical and neurodivergent children succeed socially, emotionally, and academically, just right alongside each other and at different grade levels. And I'm just wondering, just as we get started, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you founded Integrative Learning Academy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am an educator. I've been in education for about 20 years. Started just as a public school teacher. I was living in Colorado and was a bilingual educator. That's what my undergrad and my graduate degree are in, is bilingual education. And worked in just the regular classroom, native language Spanish instruction for about 12 years. And then my daughter was born and I went part-time and then was able to move into the special education realm. And so I got my certificate in special ed and was able to deliver native language instruction for special ed. And did that for a few years. And then it just kind of bounced around, doing some more reading instruction, again, all native language instruction. And then I moved to Arizona and was kind of lost with what I should be doing because we don't have bilingual education here in the sense that I was used to. And so
That's
I
a
took
whole
a
other
job.
podcast, isn't it? It's a complete different conversation about legislating essentially bad practice for
Yes.
it was when it comes
Horrible
down to it.
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's not best for these kiddos, and for an entire culture and all of that. So that's for another day. But I took a position teaching Spanish in a preschool, and always in the back of my mind thought, like, I'm going to run a school someday. I'm going to have a school that is for kids, that does what's best for kids, that's not governed by the head up, people that are administrator, top down, like telling me what to do. And I'm really going to do what's best for kids. And never thought that I was actually really going to do it because it just seemed like too much of a dream. Like how does a person even start a school? I don't know, right? And then the pandemic happened, and I was really pushed to look outside of the box. I have a son who's autistic, and he was going into kindergarten that year, and I have 4 kiddos total, and he's my number 3. And I just realized, like, I needed to do something different for him. And so that's where the idea happened and really like came to fruition. Was I decided to build a school that I would like for my son, and a place where my son would thrive, based on all the things that I had seen in the public school system and what I know about my child who's neurodivergent. And so that's kind of what led me into where I am now.
So really, it was an intensely personal and professional decision too. So you have a son with autism who's about ready to start kindergarten. You're looking around at the options available and knowing that, just number one, you are an outstanding educator. You know what needs to happen here, and you also know the limitations of a traditional public school system might be. But you had this just opportunity to create something that's going to be great for neurodivergent and neurotypical students alike. And I'm just wondering, before we get too far into our conversation, I'm wondering, from your perspective, what do those terms mean? What does it mean to be neurodivergent and neurotypical, and I guess like neurodiverse even?
Yeah, so I think that when we're talking about the neurodivergent population, and I don't love to talk about it like this, like the neurotypical, because what is typical, right? Like, I don't know. But when we look at it, we just say in my opinion, that if you are neurodiverse, your brain just works in a different way. It's wired in a different way than what we would consider to be the typical way. You see everything differently. You look at problems differently. And it's brilliant, in my opinion. I think that they bring such a diversity of thinking into the world. So it really brings a good balance to what we would say is the typical brain.
So neurotypical really is kind of a slippery thing to think about. We think of like neurotypical as being, what we, might most commonly like just encounter as we meet folks. And then, but then, the more that I'm getting to know my own self, it's just as an adult with ADHD, neurodivergent myself, and just realizing that there's probably this neurotypical and neurodiverse range is probably a little bit bigger than we thought.
Yeah,
A
absolutely.
little bit. Well, it's really neat. And so you essentially have this opportunity to start a school to best meet the needs of students, whatever those needs might be.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever it needs to be. We don't have the constraints of a principal saying that it needs to be done this way. We don't necessarily have to follow the state standards. If we need to stop and review something, it doesn't matter. Like we really are just going based on what the kids need, and it's amazing. It's beautiful.
It sounds honestly like every teacher's vision for what they went into the profession to do.
Yeah, doing what's best for kids.
Absolutely, and it's just what I always love talking with you about is about education just so much, is because it is so clear that is something that is not just a belief, it's something that you get to live out loud at Integrative Learning Academy. And so I guess I'm curious, what do you do as director and lead teacher of a micro school that's different than what you felt like you were able to do in a traditional classroom setting?
Yeah, a lot of things. In the traditional classroom setting, it's really different in the way that you have to ask permission. If I want to look at a child's needs and give them a fidget, or say like, wow, your body really is telling me that you're dysregulated and we need some headphones or whatever, like you have to ask permission for that. It needs to be written in a 504. You need to have an IEP. There's steps that need to be followed. And I think that in this classroom setting, we recognize that you don't necessarily have to be neurodivergent to have sensory needs, and that what's good for some is good for all. So if I'm looking at my students that have ADHD or autism, best practices for them are best practices for all students. And so the fidgets and the weighted blankets and the wobble chairs, like they're for everybody. And just destigmatizing what it looks like to regulate our bodies, that I think is so much different than what you can do in the public school realm. And just understanding at our school, we understand the learning pyramid, and what we really believe is that we, in order to get to the top of the pyramid, which is the learning part, we really have to hit the bottom part, which is integrating these reflexes and making sure that they're feeling safe and that they have their emotions regulated, and that like all of these basic skills need to be met before we can get up into the top. And so it really is a bottom to top approach, instead of kind of like forcing the learning from the top and then moving down and yeah.
So you have this opportunity then at Integrative Learning Academy to really address that pyramid, and that pyramid really from your perspective sounds like it has to be worked from the bottom up. It really can't be worked. We don't get to learning until we feel safe, until we're fed, until we're regulated, until all of those things, and that's an important part of what you do. So
yes.
a lot of the work that I do actually is in behavior interventions, and a lot of times students with ADHD are flagged for behavior support plans at rates that are just very different than neurotypical peers are. And especially as an adult living with ADHD myself, it's just been one of the things I've been sort of reflecting on. And you said something that was really interesting. Like, so recently, I've been doing a lot of work with like physical activity and just time outdoors as an intervention for students with ADHD, and it's been really kind of interesting just to see how I have some educators that really want to do that, but there's just a lot of barriers there. Just how does something like that work at your school? If you discover that something works, like what is a general time frame between good idea to it's happening in the classroom?
Instant. It happens instantly. We pivot.
Wow.
We like to say pivot, pivot, pivot. I mean, that's what we do. It's amazing. If we see
So you don't need like a committee or 6 to 8 weeks of data collection.
Nothing. I need nothing. I run things by my board. I have a board. I'm a nonprofit, and they are so supportive, and they believe in our mission, and they trust everything that we do. So for big decisions, yes, I run things by the board, but really it's me. My co-teacher comes to me and she's like, gosh, so-and-so really needs to go outside and walk around for a minute. Perfect. Let's do it. Let's open the door. Let's get them outside. There is no wait time. There is no collecting data, and seeing that wait to fail is no longer. We see and we act.
You know what? Let's take a break. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about that, especially just as I think about our students with ADHD and how that might be, or really neurodiverse students in general. But I'm wondering how kind of that good idea to, in practice, just you really shortened the distance to that quite a bit, and that sounds like that was on purpose in the founding of the school itself. I'm just wondering how that might work in terms of kind of parent partnerships and how parents might come to find you actually. So let's take that break, and when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about how that zero distance between good idea and happening out loud might just transform what we're able to do.
Perfect.
Welcome to a school where learning happens the way your child learns best and where every child's educational journey is as unique as they are. This is Integrative Learning Academy, where childhood and the joy of learning blend seamlessly. Imagine a one-room schoolhouse, reimagined though for today's learners. At Integrative Learning Academy, we embrace the concept of microschool, where students of different ages and abilities come together, fostering an environment of safety, love, acceptance, and belonging. Our classroom is not just a space for learning. It's a haven where each student feels comfortable, understood, and valued. With small class size and a small school size and consistent teacher-student relationships, we cultivate a unique atmosphere that cherishes every student's individuality. If your family seeks a strengths-based, student-centered education that values social and emotional learning and a partnership in your child's education journey, then Integrative Learning Academy is an amazing space for you, where every child is seen, heard, and inspired to reach their fullest potential. Discover more about our unique learning community. Visit us today at www.integrativelearningacademy.com and see how Integrative Learning Academy could be the perfect fit for your family. Well, welcome back. So Rachel, we were just talking a bit about how Integrative Learning Academy, you've by design created a situation where if there's something that's good for kids, we're going to put it into practice and live it out loud just that next day, as soon as we're able to do it. And I'm just thinking a whole out loud here too. Right now, a lot of my work is with students with ADHD and supporting them and working with families. And there's a lot of families that'll choose medication as part of the support that they want to provide for students. And then for a lot of families, they're either not going to do that for reasons that make perfect sense, that connect very well with their values and what they want. Now, I'm an adult with ADHD. I like my meds a lot. I think they're very helpful. And I'm not going to stop taking mine. Yeah. But they're also sometimes not always even available. Right? Like yes. even for families that want to do that, they're not. Yeah. Which kind of makes all those not medical interventions so much more important. Have you ever worked in a situation like this at Integrative Learning Academy?
Yeah, we love coming alongside parents when they choose that removing their child from medication is what they think is going to be best for their child, for their family. And in fact, last year we had a student that ended up being taken off of her meds because they couldn't get the meds anymore. And so instead of just having it be an abrupt end, they decided to just start to wean her off. And we were right there to be able to help them. And it was amazing to see how we could support the parents and just what we were able to provide both the student in the learning environment as she was weaning off of those meds, And really from the other side as well, for parents to see that with the correct supports in place, that she was able to function in the classroom without the meds. And we've been honored to walk another family through that process again this year. And it's been really great to see the same thing happen. Putting in the right supports have really made all the difference in being successful in those students being able to wean off of the meds.
Well, and that's the thing, just to be clear, just from a practitioner point of view, like I call me Dr. Tim, but I'm not that kind of doctor. So I'm certainly not intending to provide any kind of medical advice to any families. And it's certainly, medical treatment with the right meds can be very supportive for a lot of students, provided they're available, provided it's the right dose, provided all of that stuff gets figured out. And right
there's
now,
a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, so but if it's not even available, there's a lot of families that, what, we can't be going off and on. And I understand that.
I think you bring up a really good point with the dosage being correct. I think that's another wonderful thing for us, is that I'm one text away from parents. I have no problems shooting a text midday or at the end of the day, talking to parents face to face. If there is a dosage issue, if we're seeing that maybe the meds aren't effective, or if they're overdosed and they're really feeling like lethargic throughout the day. And that is also another really key thing that I think where we're able to be partners with parents in whatever they're deciding for their students. And I think that's really helpful in ensuring success for them, whether or not they're on the medication or they're choosing to take them off the meds and not have them use them anymore.
So I'm just kind of thinking about this too. It sounds like that you have just a fair amount of neurodiversity at Integrative Learning Academy. How, if just understanding that neurotypical and neurodivergent are kind of slippery words, but if we had to kind of say about like what percentage are we talking about in terms of your enrollment, how might you characterize things?
Yes, we have 55% of our students that are neurodivergent at Integrative Learning Academy. So we love it. I feel like that's a good amount, and we really enjoy the balance that brings. So having those kiddos that are thinking a little differently, that are really good, like the skill set that they bring, but then also what the skill set is of the neurotypical students as well, and having a nice combination of that in the classroom.
Having a chance to get to know each other in a different kind of way that perhaps might not happen at every school.
One of our pillars, our values, is empathy. And we're really big on that. What does that look like? How do we build empathy for others, understanding of where other people are coming from? And that's huge when you're looking at an inclusive classroom. That's what we have, is an inclusive classroom.
Well, and it sounds like it would have to be just given that everybody is learning together and growing at the place that they're growing. Well, I'm thinking about that. So you have about 50%, essentially about half and half, a really nice balance of neurodiversity in your enrollment at Integrative Learning Academy. When you think about your school and all the amazing things that you're doing, who do you feel benefits most from what Integrative Learning Academy has to offer?
The kids, all of them, and the families. Really, it really is so many. The whole family, I think, benefits from it. Kids that were not successful in traditional classrooms, that were coming home crying every day, were having to be pried off of car doors, to be dragged into school, are coming with really big school trauma, are now loving coming to school. They love it. And that in turn is helping families be healthier and happier, less stress on parents. It really is this beautiful cycle that happens when kids can come into a space where they feel valued and heard, understood, not shamed for listening to their bodies or knowing that they just need something different in their educational system, and that values them and really helps them, and then the parents as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, so is it, and that partnership is that well, it really extends pretty far. Then I'm just imagining that if I am a grown up of a kid who it just is not having it with the traditional school, and for very good reason. It sounds like that what a relief that might be to know that my kid's learning in a safe place, and just what a
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
ultimately though, like what it really means is that it's like who benefits most? Well, the kids do. The kids do, and it's
Yeah.
it's a neat way of thinking about it. And then also, I guess what I'm thinking about though too is that how many students are it's a micro school, so it's meant to be small. How many students are currently enrolled?
Yes, 21 students with
Yep.
2 teachers and interventionists. We have multiple therapies that come in as well to provide services.
Which, oh my goodness. So let's talk about that for just a second, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Like you've got 21 students, 2 teachers. You're one of the teachers, as I understand.
Hmm.
And so you have another teacher, and you have other like just other supports. That sounds like just tremendously well-staffed model.
It really is. And we try to maintain that low ratio throughout the day. So
Mhm.
I think our largest small group is 6 students to 1 teacher. And it's amazing. Our smallest is 2. We have 2 students to 1 teacher. And really that is where we can just drill down into what their specific needs are, and really give them the attention that they need, that they deserve.
Hmm. So knowing then that most children and youth in Arizona don't learn in micro schools, like we don't learn in schools where the enrollment's 21. Uh, Nevertheless, it sounds like there's a lot that you're doing that traditional schools might be able to learn from a bit. And I'm wondering, what might traditional schools do that is within a realistic kind of a thing for them to do that might better meet the needs in their neurodiverse enrollments?
Yeah, I definitely think one of the top things that public schools and public school educators can do is to really learn about executive function skills and
Hmm.
understand what those are and how they can support their learners in the classroom, because those are skill deficits that we know go hand in hand when you have a neurodivergency, pretty much. And so if you are well equipped to go in and look at some of these behaviors or some of, the things that you're seeing in the classroom as not a bad behavior. It's not that they're wanting to be, quote unquote bad. It's that they're lacking a skill. And most often it goes back to these executive function skills. So if we can go and understand, well, wait a minute, this is just really a skill deficit. How can I teach that skill deficit? That is going to have long lasting effects for that child. And that's something that you don't need to have permission from your administrator to be able to look and say, wow, you have some struggles with, working memory or impulse control. So what are ways that I can support you in the classroom, with developing those skills?
So in thinking about that, this a way that I'll often say something similar, and it's because I'm curious to see how you might connect with it or not, is that a student with ADHD is not choosing their symptoms. They're not
Yeah.
choosing to have these symptoms. These are symptoms that are just endemic to who they are as a person. And so
Yeah.
we're not going to criticize symptoms. We're going to engage them with curiosity. That's what we're going to do.
Yes. Yeah.
We're going to make and we're not, and I don't want to pretend like that the students with ADHD like have symptoms that present challenges in classrooms. That would be silly, because for goodness sakes, my partner knows that my ADHD causes him a problem a day. Like it absolutely
Yeah.
does. But we can work, it sounds like, to make those problems something other than a daily catastrophe. That something is
Yes.
predictable. We know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we create a solution within this environment
Yes.
that we can
Kids do well when they can't, like, because they can, like, they don't choose to do, these things because they want to get in trouble. Like, they do good when they can. And so we need to figure out what systems can we put into place that will make them feel successful. And there's just so many really easy things that educators can do to help scaffold students, to make them feel successful in the classroom. And again, just flipping that, like coming from that strength-based approach of, like, this is not something that's wrong with you, versus like, wow, you bring a lot of creativity to this table. How can we harness that? Or, what are the underlying skill deficits in this, that we can support you with? so that you're not, bothering your neighbor with X, Y, and Z behavior, because we're building the future. These are young children that are going to eventually be adults, and we want them to live in community and to be successful in their interacting with people in the world, because that's what we are. We live in a world of people. We're social just by nature, and we want them to feel successful.
And it created just a beautiful place for that to happen. So Rachel, let's take a break because we've covered a lot of just beautiful ground here. And let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll have a final thought from Rachel, and I'm just really excited to hear what it might be. Creating inclusive classrooms for students with ADHD is the perfect short online course to learn how to transform the school experience for students with ADHD and to enhance your ability to support their learning. You'll discover evidence-based strategies to improve the social, emotional, and academic success of students with ADHD, even without formal treatment plans or special accommodations. By the end of this course, you'll have an in-depth understanding of ADHD and its impact on learning, how to advocate effectively for students with ADHD, learn how to provide frequent prompts and positive feedback, some amazing strategies that'll reduce unhelpful behaviors and encourage helpful ones, and respond to symptoms of ADHD in a way that enhances connection, reduces teacher frustration, and boosts student success. It's an amazing course, and I hope to see you there. Well, welcome back, Rachel. It's been absolutely great to talk with you today. And I'm just wondering, given all the ground that we've covered, what final thought might you have for us?
Yeah, no, this has been fantastic. I love being able to talk about education and serving students and doing what's best for our neurodivergent friends. I think that final thoughts would be, what can you take away as an educator? So you're in a school and you're feeling like you've got students that have some needs that you're not quite able to meet, and you're feeling the constraints of administration and all of that. What can you do to help these kiddos be successful? And I think that really what you can do is educate yourself on executive function skills. What does it look like to come from a strength-based approach? And really asking yourself, are these kids wanting to behave like this and to choose this, or do they need help? Do they need you to come alongside them and support them so that they are able to be successful, not just in your classroom, but for years to come? And so, reflexive questioning is an amazing tool to use when working with these students to help them develop some of these skills. Especially like when they have no inhibition and they're just, like, how can we get them to pause and to think things through a little bit, which help immensely in the classroom setting, because we know that impulsive behavior can be a big barrier. So, and don't be disheartened. There are things that you can do that are within your scope in the classroom. And then just, if you're really feeling the pull to start your own school, because you're not happy, do it. It's doable. And we here in Arizona have an amazing opportunity to start up our own education system, if you will, with ESA funding. And it's a really good opportunity to be able to meet students' needs. So there's a lot of opportunity for that as well.
I absolutely just love the idea of just blooming where you're planted, or creating a different place to bloom, and either way is a great way to be an educator. And I'm just Rachel, thanks again so much for being here today, and just thank you so much for just sharing your experience with the listeners. And listeners, I definitely hope that you enjoyed our show, and I hope you reach out to me or to Rachel with your thoughts in our conversation. You can find Rachel on Instagram at integrative_learning_academy. And you can also find Rachel at Integrative Learning Academy at the website, which is at www.integrativelearningacademy.com. And as always, you can find me on Instagram at TGS Educational Consulting. And we're grateful for your likes and follows and comments here on YouTube and Instagram. I know that both of us absolutely are. But until next time, may you have many opportunities to be as generous with yourself as you are with those that you serve.